Good morning, Trinity family. I'm coming to you from our picnic pavilion today, enjoying the beautiful weather outside, and the birds are singing God's praises all around me this morning, so I will be accompanied by nature for our video today. So every Tuesday and Thursday morning, I go onto the Facebook page to comment on whatever content had been uploaded by folks on my team or volunteers that help us out. And I go on there to look this morning and realize, oh, wait a minute, there was nobody scheduled for today. Gee, who was responsible for the schedule for that? That was all me. So we had nobody scheduled for today, so that's okay. I'll jump in. So coming to you here from the picnic pavilion reminds me of all the good times that the kids had at Vacation Bible School last week. We had a pretty decent turnout. There were 7 to 10 each day. I realized by past standards of previous years at Trinity that enrollment might not be great, but compared to a lot of ELCA congregations, that's a pretty good turnout for VBS. And it was pretty good to have, 10 kids is a lot more than we would have had, in some other congregations this year. So we're grateful to God for that. So what am I going to chat with you about today? Well, I am preaching this weekend, and it is my next to last time preaching with all of you. I will be preaching on my final weekend with all of you, but this was my penultimate weekend of preaching with you. And for my sermon this weekend, I think I'm probably going to stick a little bit more to doing something a bit different. Pastor Joel's challenged me to focus a little bit more on some of the current events in our country and a little bit on the 4th of July holiday and exploring what some of these things might mean for us. So I might not be talking as much about the gospel this week. I might talk about it a little bit, but I'm probably going to focus a little more on some other things. So for our gospel reading for this week, Jesus is sending out the 70, sending them out 2 by 2 to the towns and villages to prepare the way for his coming. And he gives them the instructions for the journey, and he tells them to not take any provisions, to rely on the kindness of strangers. And he gives them the instruction that as they enter each house in the towns and villages that they go to, he tells them, you're just going to say, peace be with you. And then your peace either returns to you or it doesn't. And that in and of itself, that one little instruction of Jesus, I think is a very mentally healthy thing that we need to hear and that we need to know. Because in this world, especially, tying into some of the things I'll probably talk about this weekend about the increasing partisanship and the vitriol and the toxicity in our culture, and the fact that, we're becoming ever more divisive than we have in a long time. There's a lot of people angrily shouting at each other and not listening to each other quite as much. And it leaves us going home feeling awfully discouraged about our relations with other people and feeling like maybe there's not much hope that we can come back together again and that we can ever build peace again and build community again. Jesus' words here when he tells us to let your peace go out from you and it either comes back to you or it doesn't. That's a very mentally healthy way to be. As we go through life, we greet the people that we meet with a message of peace, and we tell them, hey, I'd like to be your buddy. Do you want to be my buddy? And you can't control how other people react after that. You put your peace out there, and it either comes back to you or it doesn't. If it doesn't come back to you, well, then you can't control how other people are going to respond to you. If you did your best to try to greet them warmly, if you did your best to try to make sure that you tell them, hey, I want to be friends, I want to hear what you have to say. If that doesn't return to you because they're not interested in returning the favor, there's only but so much we can do about that. So we move on and we try with the next person. And if that person that we greeted ever comes back, fine, that's great. Maybe at some point tomorrow or the next week or the next month or the next year, maybe they will come back. Maybe your peace will return to you someday. But for today, maybe it won't. Well, that's a mentally healthy way to be. You can't control what they do. You can only control how you're going to respond to it. And how we're going to respond to it is, we'll move on to the next person we meet and we'll share the same message of Christ's love and peace with them also. And that's what we're going to keep on doing until the day that he returns. So once again, as is always the case, Jesus has a very strong command of a very mentally and emotionally and spiritually healthy way for us to live in this world with neighbors that sometimes are kind in return to us and sometimes are not so kind. So that's what I'd like for us to chew on today, and that's what I thought I'd share with you all. I think the birds are telling me that I've been rambling too long for today, so thank you for joining me today, Trinity family, and I will see you all in worship this weekend. God bless.